Supreme Court ruling that we've just heard about now. The headline here, top U.S. officials cannot be sued for post-9/11 abuse. Let me give you a little background. The former U.S. Attorney General we're talking about, John Ashcroft, and former FBI Director Robert Mueller, they cannot be subjected to a lawsuit. This was coming to them, this lawsuit by a Pakistani man who was claiming abuse while he was imprisoned in New York after the September 11th attacks. He's a Muslim, and he said in his lawsuit that he had suffered verbal and physical abuse, including unnecessary strip searches and brutal beatings by guards. He said he'd been singled out because of unlawful ethnic and religious discrimination. But again, top officials now, the Supreme Court says, cannot be sued. We're joined now by Pete Williams on the phone. Pete, what more can you tell us?
Well, this is a case we've been watching very carefully, because if this Pakistani Muslim had succeeded with this lawsuit, there certainly would have been hundreds more. He was one of those who was sort of rounded up in the weeks after 9/11 when the FBI and law enforcement were generally looking for people who might have conceivably had any terror connections. And as a result of that, a lot of Muslim men were put in holding cells in New York, and the Justice Department has since said that many of them were mistreated. What he said is that the Attorney General at the time, John Ashcroft, and the FBI Director should be responsible, and he sued them. But today the Supreme Court said when you file a lawsuit like that and you're challenging the actions of top officials, you have to show some direct connection between what happened to you and the conduct that the officials took. And merely saying that they wanted to pick up terror detainees, the court said today, is not enough to show that there's, in other words, a firm chain that goes from the mistreatment by the people in the Metropolitan Correction Center in New York and the actions that Ashcroft and Mueller took. So what Justice Anthony Kennedy said today in announcing this decision is that the lawsuit here comes up short. It's a 5-4 decision along the usual breakdowns. As I say, I think if this had gone the other way, then we would have seen a lot more lawsuits.
All right, Pete Williams. Pete, I know you're on the phone there because you couldn't get to a camera because you're right there as it's all happening. But we appreciate you calling in. Thank you, Pete.
You bet.